Hello everyone, welcome to another race with Mo Allen. In this race, which was raced on Sunday, December 29th, 2024 at 1 p.m. in the garage as always, we'll be racing the Epic Race, Zwift Epic Race series on the London Pretzel route. This is 56 kilometers, 580 meters of elevation. It is flat for a long time until you hit the Fox Hill KOM and then descend, and then a little more flat before in between the Fox Hill descent and when you hit the Box Hill KOM, and then it descends after that and finishes at the beginning of the route where the first checkpoint where you went through. So there are, you can see there my Zwift racing score. This is an all category race, 21 riders to start, mixed cat, so I didn't do recon necessarily on the riders in the group. I did look at the Zwift power listing and saw that there was mixed as usual for an all category, as was expected, but I didn't really have any rider names to mark or anything. So as always, just trying to stay with the front group for as long as I can, hoping that I could do that on the flats before the climb, stay with the front until the climb, and then just put in a good effort up the first climb. This being an all category race, likely was not going to be able to last with the group up the climb, but wanted to put in a good effort. The Fox Hill KOM, I didn't know this at the time, but my previous PR was 7 minutes 11 seconds, I believe, or that might have just been my 90-day PR, which is good as my PR because it's my form in the last 90 days. So I knew for that sort of effort I probably wasn't going to stick with the front group up that climb, but just hoping to stay with the group until then. Helpfully, my coach is in this ride as well. He decided to jump in. He was going to do a different ride, just a Rafa 500 group ride, but he just did this race himself yesterday, so he wasn't going to race it. He was just there to support me. You can see him texting me in the rider list. So that was helpful. And yeah, so here I am just going to try to stay towards the back as much as I can to maximize the draft, while also keeping an eye on the front, anticipating any inclines that come. I say it's flat, but there's still little bumps here and there. So any inclines that come, I want to move up towards the front half of the group just to cover any moves that happen at the front. You will see that there are some moves. Spoiler alert, I do not make it to the beginning of the climb with the entire group. It does split at some point. I'll let you watch that in a little bit. Overall, this was a pretty good ride. It's a Sunday ride, end of my training week, so there was a bit of fatigue in the legs. I did take off. I did switch this ride. It was supposed to be yesterday, and today was supposed to be a run, but with all that I had going on yesterday, I actually just took a rest day and wasn't able to do anything, and so today I'm doing this ride, this race. I felt okay physically, but mentally was a little weak. I knew those two climbs were looming, and so I wouldn't say weak. I just I didn't feel like strong and gung-ho about the ride. So here you go with the first little test up this little hill. People putting out some big watts, trying to cover the move, pop the power up, stay with the front of the group. You'll see a couple of times when the group splits that I'm not trying to cover all the way to the front, just hoping that some people will come with me and then go past me and work to finish off closing the gap. I wasn't going to spend myself too much, going with, again, in this all category riders that might be way out of my category on the flats and trying to stay with them and just burn my legs out for the climb. So just trying to advantageously shut down any gaps where I can, but also not put out too much effort. If a big break is going to happen, I would just let it happen, as you'll see that does happen at a certain point. So here is where that break that I mentioned happens. So the front winds up here. I recognize that the group is getting strung out, so I just wind up the watts to get towards the front of the group. But the effort is just higher than I'd want to cover at the front. So here I'm just trying to get towards the front. You can see a few riders off the front there. I'm not trying to get all the way up to them. There's this rider in front of me that I'm trying to mark here and just hoping again that other riders come with us, but that gap is substantial at this point. So now it's about seeing whether or not anyone else in the group is going to try to surge and cover those gaps. So just trying to stay with this group now and see what kind of group forms after this first break. The chase was actually fairly substantial. You'll see how much effort the group is putting into trying to get back onto that front group. So I think we all burned a little bit trying to get back. I mean, it's a pretty sustained high zone effort for a while to try to get back. So definitely took something out of me to stay with this group. I think it was the right thing to stay with this group, but the effort was more than I expected. So here we are at the start of this Fox Hill climb. So with this group here, and again, didn't really have a wattage to target. You see I turn off my graph when I'm climbing sometimes, just to not have that be an anchor for me to anchor my effort to, in terms of just like watching and trying to stay in a particular color. So I'm really just trying to ride off a feel here. My coach will drop back here and tell me to stay strong. He's not going to put in an effort, again, considering that he just did this ride the day before and joined only because I was there. So here I'm not trying to necessarily stay with the group, but put in a good effort, and a good effort for me, again, for a 7-ish minute climb. This is kind of similar, a little less than the volcano climb, and but I've already been riding for 47 minutes at 270 watt average, so it's a little different, well, depending on whenever you hit the volcano climb, I guess. But I had sort of 380-ish in mind. That's a substantial effort for me for 7 minutes. But I figured I'd assess and see. I knew there was a downhill recovery and some flat that maybe I could recover from that sort of effort afterwards, and just try to see what kind of effort I could put out. So you can see here I'm way over 380. I'm up around 430. But that won't last forever. I felt, fairly good up on the pedals here on this high incline section of 12%. And you'll see me dial it back once it gets a little lower. So, dropping back from the group a little bit. Again, not too concerned with who's around me at this point, just trying to see if I can put in a good climb. At this point, I didn't actually know the estimated time that it would take for me to climb, so I was watching the mini map at the top right to see what distance I had covered and how much was left, to kind of gauge my effort. So you see me sitting back down here and just staying on the pedals, kind of bouncing between, 340 and 380. And just trying to put in a good effort. If you would have seen the YouTube thumbnail, you would have seen that I actually got a PR on this. So you can see there in the 90-day PR is on the left, at 7 minutes 11 seconds was my 90-day PR. And I was able to climb this 20 seconds faster than that today, which was a good effort. Definitely took something out of me for the rest of the climb, but not the rest of this climb, the rest of the next climb, actually. But happy with where I was. I think this decision was right, considering where I was in the race at this point, not knowing who was around me, it being not advisable for me to try to stay with any one of these riders, not knowing their skill level or their abilities necessarily. So I just had to pick my watts, pick a comfort level, and try to stay within it and get up this climb. here we are approaching the top of the climb, place 14. A few riders in front of me, just trying to give it a good effort to get up this last little bump, see if I can latch on to anyone else who's close to me. I know that I will have an advantage with my 95 kilogram rider weight on the downhills. If I can stay with some people, I'll be able to descend faster than they will with less effort. So, but you can see here they're pulling away from me. So not necessarily trying to catch them up, just trying to stay on the pedals here. So situation here after the first climb, again in place 14, a couple riders ahead of me, a group ahead of them at 12 seconds. And then closest rider behind me at 40-ish seconds. So here I'm just trying to get down the downhill, get some recovery in, assess where I am, and you will see I turned the graph on there. You can see it's a good effort up that hill. Again, a PR for me, all-time PR, not just a 90-day PR, just an all-time PR, the fastest I've ever climbed that hill, which is great. So yeah, once we get to the bottom of this, you'll see that there's a decision I have to make about what to do given where I am. So we'll pick it up at the bottom of this climb. So here we go, descent done, and here's the decision I have to make. It's a group of 5 riders ahead of me, just 5 seconds ahead. All right, so I'm putting on the power here. In my mind, that's not that far. I didn't put in a big dig, but in my mind, I figured let me just put in a good effort here, you know, zone 3, zone 4 effort to try to catch up to them. And I was hopeful that I would be able to get up to them without having to like put in a big dig, sustain to get back to them. There is a downhill section in between these climbs, but it's not a terribly long. So I didn't want to like have to go into zone 5 for a minute or more to try to catch this group or whatever it would have taken. I guess maybe it wouldn't have taken a minute, but and had it sat my legs for the end, like get up to the group and then for what, not be able to stay with them. So you can see how close I am to them here, and how quickly though they pull away. So I decided after this little ascent and seeing them pull away that I'm gonna let them, well, I'm not going to put in any more effort to chase, right? So I was hopeful still that if I kept the watts up in the zone 3-ish, zone 4, that maybe I could catch them on the flats if they were kind of recovering as well. Turns out they were not recovering on the flats and they continue to pull away from me. So I think this decision was right. Now, I will say that I did miscalculate. Not miscalculate. I think I could have, in hindsight, put in an effort to catch them when they were, you know, a few seconds ahead of me. but I'm not sure how that would have fared for me in the end. I believe in that scenario, if I would have caught them, they do end up pushing, some high watts on the flats here occasionally as they pull away from me. And so to stick with them on the flats, I probably would have had to put out more than I'm putting out now. I'm not sure. I feel like that's true. I also believe, so I think it's true that I would have gone faster with the group, right? So my overall finish time might have been, my time, I'll say this. My time from now until the start of the Box Hill last climb would have been faster, but I would have been more spent for the climb. And you'll see once I get to the climb that I was already pretty spent. So decision made here to not sit up, but to not let them go. And so now my attention turns to the rider behind me. Well, 2 riders behind me, 3 riders behind me at 2 minutes. So my thought here is just to stay on the power and keep that gap at 2 minutes if I can, and hope that that's enough that when I get to the climb, I know I'm not, for the Box Hill climb, that I'm not going to be able to put in the same kind of effort that I put in on Fox Hill. So I wanted to make sure that I kept a gap to the point where a 2 minute gap felt comfortable for me, if I got a 2 minute gap on the riders behind, if I kept a 2 minute gap on the riders behind, that I could grind up the climb and keep them away. That was my hope. And so that's the decision I made here. In 14th place, group of riders ahead, not sure where they are category wise, not sure where any riders are categorized, but I decide that I'm staying on this island and I'm floating all the way to the climb. So I keep on the power here, some Z2, Z3 watts, and get to the box climb, and you'll see what kind of effort I put up that climb. So here we are at the start of the box climb. I have managed to keep that gap and extend it a bit to the riders behind. Turns out that just one rider was able to stay in that sort of 2-minute-ish range. Why no good there from Canada. So now, knowing that I'm likely not going to catch any of the riders in front unless they crack, I start this climb and kind of settle in and see what kind of effort I can put in. You see, I kind of start around between 300 and 350 here on the climb. I start to dial that back as I don't quite have 350 average in me up this climb. This one is a little longer, I believe, than the Fox climb, so knowing that I'm a little more spent and it's a little longer, right now I'm just managing my watts. See me kind of settle into the low 300s here and just try. I'm keeping an eye on the why no good rider behind me, and just considering that the race now is about a steady climb while keeping them away. And I consider that will be a win for me for today. So here we are at the top of the climb. Was able to keep the rider away, get a pretty consistent climb going here. The rider behind did get gain half a minute on me. I started the climb with them, I think 2 minutes and 36 seconds back, and they're just over 2 minutes behind at the top of this climb. They briefly got to within under 2 minutes, just under 2 minutes, so I was able to keep them away. And at this point, I know it's just about me recovering down this climb. Got this last little bump to go, and just making sure that I can again keep them away, with the riders in front being a minute and a half ahead. I know that my my race again is just between me and the rider behind, and me trying to get the best time I can to finish and finish off this week of training. Here we go with the last half a kilometer. Put in a good little, again, sustained Z3 effort on the flats just to finish off the ride, and now just winding up the watts, getting a good finish here to the end. I was trying to get in right under an hour and 30 minutes just because I ended up getting in just over an hour and 30 minutes, but all in all, happy with the ride. Curious if anyone would have done anything different given everything known about me and the riders around in terms of the decisions I made around chasing or not, or what kind of efforts I put out. So you can see there, 2.9 watts per kilogram for an hour and 30 minutes, 14th place. A little over a minute behind the rider in front, 5 minutes, almost 6 minutes to the rider who came in first. Zwift power results here. 2.9 watts a kilogram is, good average. You can see here my PR for the Fox Hill, which is nice. Interestingly, my Zwift racing score went down 1 as a result of this ride. You'll see actually that I have a screenshot of not a screenshot. You'll see me bring up my profile in a minute here. And where the Zwift rider score is shown in your profile where your name and height and weight and FTP are defined. The Zwift racing score there went all the way down to 478, which I'm not exactly sure what that's about. I haven't checked it after, but you can see it right here, 478. So after the race in Zwift Companion, it was 499, but that was after I looked at it in the Zwift racing score. So, I mean, in the profile. So interesting. So that's it for this. Thank you all for watching. Click the like button, click subscribe to get notified when I upload new videos. Leave a comment, it helps. If you have anything you'd like to discuss, let me know. I hope you all have a great new year. I hope you stay healthy, stay fit, and I will talk to you later.